My dear friends, have you ever noticed that the days you feel most sad, most lost, most confused are the days when you had absolutely nothing to do? And the days you feel most alive, most joyful, most confident are the days you are busy becoming a better version of yourself. So today, let's talk about a simple, profound truth. The best way to stay happy is to stay busy. Not busy escaping life, but busy living it. Fully being busy is not about running from place to place, rushing through tasks, or filling your day with noise. It is about living with purpose, living with intention, and choosing to invest your time into things that uplift your spirit. When you stay purposefully engaged, your mind feels grounded. You start waking up with a sense of direction, a feeling that your life is moving forward. There is a silent joy in knowing exactly what you're working toward. You don't have to wait for someone to motivate you, validate you, or push you. The purpose itself becomes your motivation. The beauty of purposeful business is that it brings clarity. When you know what you want to do, what you want to learn, what you want to improve, distractions automatically lose their power. Suddenly, the opinions of people don't shake you the way they used to. Their negativity doesn't enter your mind as easily. Why? Because your focus is already occupied. A focused mind cannot be disturbed by small things. But an idle mind is like a playground. Any thought, any insult, any worry, any fear can enter and start playing mischief. Purposeful business protects your mental space. It creates a boundary where negativity cannot easily enter. You start realizing that your time is precious. And when you understand the value of your time, you stop wasting it on unnecessary arguments, gossip, overthinking, and emotional chaos. You begin to say no to things that drain you and yes to things that strengthen you. Your priorities shift from entertainment to growth, from complaining to creating, from waiting to working. And there's something magical that happens inside you when you stay engaged in meaningful activity. Your self-respect rises. You start feeling good about yourself because you know you're not just existing, you're progressing. Even if the progress is slow, even if it's small, it still matters. A seed doesn't become a tree in one day, but every day it is busy growing beneath the soil. Similarly, every small effort you make, every task you complete, every step you take towards your goal is building something within you. When your actions align with your purpose, happiness becomes a natural byproduct. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to search for it. You simply live your day with engagement, and happiness comes quietly and sits beside you like a comfortable friend. You realize that the more you stay meaningfully busy, the more peaceful your heart becomes. The more you invest your time in things that matter, the more fulfilled you feel. Purposeful business is not about exhausting yourself. It is about energizing yourself. It is about giving your life movement, direction, and meaning. And when your life has meaning, happiness flows effortlessly. When the mind has no direction, it slowly begins to wander, and it never wanders toward peace. It wanders toward fear, toward insecurity, toward doubts that were never even real. An idle mind is like a blank screen. Whatever appears on it, you start believing. A small worry becomes a big problem. A tiny inconvenience becomes a personal attack. A simple delay feels like a disaster. Why? Because the mind has nothing meaningful to hold on to. It grabs whatever emotion or thought is floating in the air, and most of the time, that emotion is negative. Stress does not always come from situations. Many times, it comes from excess mental space. When your mind is unoccupied, it starts creating stories. It imagines worst case scenarios. It rewinds past mistakes. It magnifies flaws, your own and others. You start analyzing people's behavior, overthinking their words, doubting their intentions. Suddenly, things that shouldn't matter begin to matter too much. That is the danger of an empty mind. It becomes a playground for negativity. When the mind lacks direction, even small things can disturb your peace. A message seen but not replied to. A slight change in someone's tone. A minor inconvenience in your day. All these things feel heavier than they truly are because your mind has the space to overact. But the moment you fill your life with meaningful activity, the power of these small irritations disappears. A busy mind doesn't have the time or energy to entertain negativity. You become emotionally stronger without even trying, simply because your mind is too engaged to overthink. Think about the times when you were deeply involved in something. Maybe studying, working, solving a problem, cleaning your room, helping someone, or learning a new skill. During those moments, your mind was calm. You weren't thinking about who said what, who likes you, who ignores you, or what might go wrong tomorrow. You were present, you were focused, and that focus protected you from unnecessary worries. The mind needs something to chew on. If you don't feed it positivity, purpose, work, kindness, learning, creativity, it will start chewing on fear, insecurity, assumptions, and illusions. That is why ancient wisdom always encouraged engagement. A mind engaged in noble work becomes peaceful. A mind left idle becomes restless. Negativity thrives in emptiness. It grows when you sit doing nothing, scrolling endlessly, waiting for things to happen, or hoping someone will come and make your life better. But when your hours are filled with progress, physical work, mental growth, emotional learning, spiritual reflection, you naturally rise above negativity. Your mind becomes sharper, stronger, and more resilient. Overthinking cannot survive in a mind that is actively engaged in the present moment. Doubt cannot survive in a mind that is busy building something meaningful. Fear cannot survive in a mind that is growing every day. When you keep your mind occupied with good things, positive things, purposeful things, you don't have to fight negativity. It simply doesn't find space to enter. So staying busy is not just about productivity. It is about mental protection. It is about creating a shield around your peace. It is about ensuring that your mind does not become a playground for stress, but a workshop for growth. When you stay meaningfully engaged, negativity loses its home. The mind stops wandering to painful places. And slowly, without forcing it, without begging for it, you start experiencing something beautiful, inner calm. When you accomplish even the smallest task, something subtle but powerful awakens inside you. It's a quiet voice that says, "I did it." And that simple feeling, that tiny spark of achievement, begins to reshape the way you see yourself. Slowly, your confidence grows, not because life became easier, but because you prove to yourself that you are capable. Productivity is not just about ticking boxes. It's about building an inner identity that says, "I can handle things. I can move forward. I can make progress." Every small action becomes a brick in the foundation of your self-worth. When you're productive, you start respecting yourself more. You begin to trust your own discipline. You stop waiting for motivation from the outside because you start experiencing the satisfaction that comes from the inside. The world may not always appreciate your effort, but when you complete something, even something simple like cleaning your space, finishing a task, organizing your day, you feel a shift within. A sense of order replaces the chaos. A sense of clarity replaces confusion. This inner alignment makes you feel more confident, more alive, and more in charge of your life. Self-worth grows when you see yourself doing the things you once thought you couldn't do. Maybe you struggled with consistency. Maybe you procrastinated. Maybe you doubted yourself for years. But every time you take action, you rewrite your story. You send a message to your mind that says, I'm not the person who gives up, I'm the person who grows. And the more you reinforce this identity with action, the stronger your belief becomes. There's a special kind of happiness that comes from progress, not from perfection, not from applause, not from results, just progress. Even when you don't see big changes immediately, your heart knows that you're moving. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you're no longer where you used to be. That realization alone brings peace. It brings joy. It brings a sense of direction that many people spend their whole lives searching for. Productivity gives your mind proof. Instead of wishing, hoping, or imagining, your mind sees evidence of your growth. And evidence is powerful. Evidence silences doubt. Evidence weakens fear. Evidence builds belief. When your mind sees that you are capable of taking consistent action, it becomes your ally instead of your enemy. The internal war reduces. The self-criticism softens. You become kinder toward yourself because you see yourself trying, improving, and evolving. When you're engaged in meaningful activity, you feel valuable, not because someone told you so, but because you contributed something. Even if it was small, that feeling of contribution is fuel for the heart. It gives you a reason to wake up in the morning with a little more energy, a little more hope, a little more excitement. People often think happiness comes from external achievements, but in reality, happiness grows from internal progress. The moment you feel yourself developing, your entire emotional state shifts. You stop comparing yourself with others because you are too focused on becoming a better version of yourself. You stop doubting your potential because every day you see small proof of it. And you stop feeling worthless because your actions remind you that you matter, your time matters, your growth matters. Productivity is not the enemy of peace, it is the foundation of peace. When you are moving forward, even slowly, your heart feels lighter, your mind feels clearer. You feel proud of yourself, not in an arrogant way, but in a deeply peaceful way. And that inner peace, that inner strength, that inner pride is one of the most beautiful forms of happiness a person can experience. When your life is empty, negativity finds endless opportunities to enter. It is amazing how the mind works. The less engaged you are, the more sensitive you become to everything around you. Someone's simple comment suddenly feels like a deep insult. Someone's delayed reply feels like rejection. Someone's small mistake becomes a big drama. An idle mind magnifies everything. It turns little ripples into waves and little misunderstandings into emotional storms. Why? Because when your hands are free, your mind starts overworking. And when the mind overworks without guidance, it usually works in the wrong direction. Think about the times you were completely free with nothing to focus on. Didn't every small thing irritate you? Didn't your thoughts start spinning in circles? Didn't your emotions fluctuate without any clear reason? This happens because the mind needs engagement the same way the body needs movement. A still body becomes stiff, a still mind becomes sharp, but not in a good way. It becomes sharp in picking out flaws, sharp in remembering painful moments, sharp in creating imaginary problems. A busy mind doesn't have the time to do all of that. It is too focused on what actually matters. Negativity loves space. It loves free time. It thrives in gaps where there is no purpose, no direction, no meaningful task. Overthinking is not a sign that your life is broken. It is a sign that your mind has no work. When your schedule is filled with growth-oriented activities, negativity starves. It has no energy to feed on. But when you sit idle, even for a little too long, negativity becomes bold. It starts whispering doubts, injecting fear, reviving old memories you should have left behind. Have you noticed that when someone is truly working towards something meaningful, studying for an exam, preparing for a project, focusing on a goal, they complain less, they gossip less, they argue less, they don't react to every small inconvenience. It's not because their life became magically perfect. It's because their attention is already consumed by something that helps them grow. When your attention is busy, your emotions become stable. But when your attention is free, your emotions become unpredictable. Most people don't realize this. We don't stay negative because life is difficult. We stay negative because our mind is unoccupied. A busy person has no time to waste on unnecessary drama. They don't have space in their mind for jealousy, comparison, resentment, or self-pity. They are too focused on creating something beautiful in their own journey. But someone who is mentally idle will overanalyze everything. Why someone looked at them a certain way, why someone didn't respond, why someone got more success. The mind needs to stay engaged, or it starts playing with these useless thoughts simply because it has nothing better to do. There is a reason wise people throughout history were always active, mentally, physically, spiritually. Not because they were restless, but because they understood a timeless truth. A vast engagement protects the mind. When you stay busy in meaningful ways, your emotional energy stays balanced. You don't feel heavy as often. You don't feel insecure as quickly. You don't get upset as easily. Not because life changed, but because your focus did. Negativity cannot attack a mind that is moving forward. It only attacks the mind that is standing still. Loneliness, sadness, fear, insecurity, these emotions often enter when your life has too many empty hours. When you fill those hours with learning, creativity, service, growth, physical movement, self-care, or contribution, negativity simply runs out of places to hide. When you stay meaningfully busy, you become emotionally lighter. You don't dwell on problems, you solve them. You don't cling to the past, you move toward the future. You don't obsess over what you lack, you appreciate what you have. Your days feel fuller, your heart feels calmer, and your mind feels clearer, not because everything is perfect, but because you gave your mind a purpose to follow. A purpose-driven mind is peaceful. An empty mind is dangerous. And a busy mind, busy in the right way, is one of the greatest shields against negativity you'll ever have. Staying busy is not just about filling your calendar. It is about building a rhythm of discipline that strengthens who you are from the inside out. Discipline is not something that appears suddenly one morning. It grows slowly, quietly, through the daily act of showing up for your work, your goals, your responsibilities, your commitments, and most importantly for yourself. When you keep yourself engaged, you naturally begin to build patterns. Those patterns become habits, and those habits become your character. Think about the people you admire. You will notice something common among almost all of them: they are consistent. Whether they are artists, teachers, leaders, entrepreneurs, or spiritual guides, their greatness did not come from occasional bursts of effort. It came from daily commitment. They were not perfect, they were persistent. That persistence is the result of disciplined engagement. A busy life that is aligned with purpose slowly trains you to stick to routines, stay focused, and push through difficulties even when motivation fades. Staying busy builds discipline because it forces you to organize your time. When you have things to do, you have to prioritize. You have to reduce distractions. You have to learn what truly matters. You start becoming mindful of how you spend your minutes because you understand that unmanaged time becomes wasted time. And when time is wasted, potential is wasted. A person without direction becomes reactive, easily influenced by emotions, moods, or circumstances. But a person with structured engagement becomes proactive. They act from intention, not impulse. When you commit to daily engagement, even in small ways, you begin to train your mind to follow through. Each day, you create a small victory, and these small victories shape your identity. You begin to trust yourself. I said I would do this, and I did it. I planned this, and I completed it. I decided to move forward, and I kept moving. This self-trust is one of the strongest forms of discipline. Once you believe in your ability to follow through, your future becomes stronger than your excuses. Discipline also gives you emotional stability. When your life has structure, your emotions find balance. You don't wake up wondering what to do or how to live your day. There is a sense of order, a flow that keeps you grounded. Without structure, the mind becomes loud, it starts complaining, worrying, panicking, and comparing. But with structure, the mind knows its path. It becomes calmer, less reactive, more focused, and more peaceful. A disciplined life is not a life of restriction, it is a life of liberation. It liberates you from the stress of unpredictability. It frees you from the confusion of indecision. It protects you from the anxiety of chaos. It gives you control over yourself, your habits, your behavior, your decisions, your future, and staying busy in meaningful ways is the easiest, most natural training ground for developing this discipline. When you are engaged in something important, you learn commitment. When you are engaged regularly, you learn consistency. When you are engaged despite challenges, you learn resilience. Discipline is nothing more than the combination of these three qualities. And they are all born from staying involved, staying active, staying purposeful. There will be days when you feel tired, days when you feel unmotivated, days when you feel like giving up. But when you live a life that keeps you meaningfully busy, you don't rely on temporary feelings. You rely on your foundation. You rely on the discipline you build through repetition. You rely on the momentum created by your daily actions. One of the most beautiful things about discipline is that it eventually makes life easier. What feels difficult today becomes natural tomorrow. What feels overwhelming becomes routine. Discipline transforms challenges into habits and habits into a lifestyle. And that lifestyle brings an inner strength that is rare and precious. A person who has discipline becomes unstoppable. Not because they are perfect or talented, but because their mind and actions are aligned. They don't wait for the right mood. They create the right movement. They don't wait for inspiration. They build momentum. They don't wait for opportunities. They prepare for them. Staying busy, staying engaged, staying committed, this is how discipline is formed. And once discipline enters your life, your dreams are no longer distant. They slowly start becoming your reality. Have you ever noticed that when you are deeply engaged in something meaningful, even something simple like cleaning your room, solving a problem, cooking, practicing a skill, you suddenly start getting ideas. Your mind comes alive. Creativity flows like a river that has just been unblocked. But when you sit idle, staring at your phone or lying on your bed with nothing to do, your creativity dries up. You feel dull, empty, uninspired. This isn't a coincidence. The mind was never designed to produce inspiration out of laziness. It produces inspiration out of is engagement. Creativity is not a magical force that suddenly appears one day. It is a byproduct of movement, mental movement, emotional movement, physical movement. When your hands are busy, your mind opens up. When you challenge yourself with tasks, your brain starts connecting ideas that were always inside you but were never activated. When you stay engaged, even with small daily tasks, you create momentum. And momentum is the source of creativity. If you observe artists, writers, musicians, inventors, or even spiritual teachers, you will notice something surprising. They don't wait for creativity. They create the conditions for creativity. And one of those conditions is staying meaningfully busy. The more you do, the more ideas you get. When you're engaged in life, interacting with people, learning new things, practicing skills, exploring new experiences, your brain collects material. It gathers insights, observations, emotions, moments, and all of these become the raw ingredients for creativity. Inspiration is not born in inactivity, it is born in participation. Every time you act, you give your brain something fresh to work with. Every time you stay busy, you give your mind fuel to form new connections. Have you ever gone for a long walk and suddenly found solutions to problems you'd been stuck on for days? Have you ever cleaned your room and suddenly felt motivated to do something bigger in life? Have you ever been talking to someone and suddenly an idea popped into your mind? That is the nature of the mind. It opens when you're engaged and it shuts down when you're idle. Stillness can bring peace, yes, but idleness brings stagnation. A stagnant mind cannot be creative. A stagnant mind becomes tired, bored, and restless. People often think creativity is something you wait for. But waiting rarely gives birth to inspiration. Discipline does. Engagement does. Action does. Creativity is like a shy guest. It appears when you show that you're active, when you're moving, when you're trying. It doesn't visit those who sit doing nothing. It visits those who show effort. That is why people get ideas in the shower, while driving, while exercising, while walking. These are moments of gentle engagement where the mind is active but not stressed. When you stay busy, your mind avoids overthinking and starts problem solving instead. Overthinking kills creativity, engagement revives it. When you act, you move from what if to let's try, and this shift in attitude opens a floodgate of new ideas. Creativity loves people who try. It loves people who explore. It loves people who show up. Even failure feeds creativity, because every failed attempt teaches you something new. Staying engaged also teaches your mind to adapt. When you're busy, you face small challenges throughout the day. Fixing something, adjusting plans, handling responsibilities, solving issues. Each challenge trains your brain to think differently, to approach things from new angles. This constant exercise strengthens your creative muscles. The more your brain works, the smarter and more imaginative it becomes. Creativity is not the talent of the few, it is the reward of the engaged. You'll also notice something else. Engaged people rarely feel mentally stuck. They are always moving, always growing, always discovering. Their life becomes a flow of inspiration because their mind is always being stimulated by action. Idle people, on the other hand, often complain of feeling stuck, not because they lack potential, but because their mind lacks movement. So if you want more creativity, don't wait for it. Start doing something, anything that engages your mind. Read something, learn something, build something, practice something, help someone, explore something new. As soon as you start moving, Creativity will wake up and start moving with you. A busy mind is a creative mind. A purposefully busy life becomes a fountain of ideas, possibilities, and inspiration. And once creativity starts flowing, life becomes more exciting, more colorful, and more meaningful. When you stay genuinely busy with meaningful work, something powerful starts happening inside you. You begin to grow. And not just in one area, but in every dimension of your being. Growth is not always loud. It doesn't always look like success or achievements. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like discipline. Sometimes it looks like learning something small but important. But growth always begins with engagement. A person who stays active, involved, and purposeful naturally evolves, while a person who remains idle slowly stagnates. Life moves forward, and when you stay busy, you move with it. The mind is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it weakens. When you stay too free, too unchallenged, too uninterested, the mind loses sharpness. You start forgetting things easily. Your thinking becomes slow. Your decisions become uncertain. Your confidence drops. But the moment you engage yourself in any form of meaningful activity, reading, learning, working, practicing, creating, solving problems, your mind wakes up. It becomes alert. It becomes curious. It becomes sharper. Every task you do, every piece of information you absorb, every skill you practice becomes another workout for your brain. And just like a muscle grows stronger with exercise, your mind grows stronger with engagement. Growth also happens emotionally when you stay active. When you're engaged in something important, you automatically become more patient. You develop endurance. You learn to manage setbacks. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to grow your emotional intelligence. Idle people often become emotionally fragile because they face fewer challenges. But busy people face small challenges every day. Fixing things, making decisions, adapting, adjusting, persevering. These experiences may look ordinary, but they build extraordinary emotional resilience. The ability to stay calm during stress, the ability to keep moving forward despite difficulties, the ability to stay committed regardless of mood. These are all forms of emotional growth, and they are born from engagement. Spiritual growth also rises when you stay meaningfully busy. An idle mind tends to drift into overthinking, negativity, and unnecessary desires. But when your actions align with your purpose, your heart becomes peaceful. You stop craving things you don't need. You stop comparing yourself with others. You stop feeling empty or directionless. Instead, you feel satisfied because you're living in alignment with something meaningful. This alignment is spiritual. It connects you with a deeper sense of purpose. It makes your life feel grounded. A busy life filled with meaningful actions becomes a form of meditation. Your mind loses its negativity because it's occupied with purpose. Growth is also visible in your habits. When you stay active, your habits improve naturally. You begin to wake up earlier, maintain routines, stay organized, plan your day, take care of your tasks. Your lifestyle becomes cleaner, healthier, more structured. Small habits start changing one by one, even without forcing it. And those habits begin shaping a new version of you. Idle life creates lazy habits, busy life creates powerful habits, and habits shape destiny. Another beautiful aspect of staying engaged is that you start discovering yourself. Most people don't truly know their strengths because they never push themselves. They don't know what they are capable of because they never try. But when you involve yourself in different activities, you uncover hidden talents, hidden courage, hidden abilities. You begin to see yourself differently, not as a victim of life, but as a creator of your journey. You realize you are capable of